All right, so for today's lesson, we need to know one really important word, surface tension. So if we think about this and break it apart, surface is the outermost layer or the upper layer of an object. Let's take a look at some examples. So the outer layer of this would be smooth. This one, this cantaloupe, would be rough and a little ripe. And then this, don't even ask why we still have this in our house, but this one would be bumpy. That's the surface of these three. Joey now is going to show us tension in 1 minute. Tension is when you stretch tightly. It's almost like making a tense face. Can you make a tense face? Right, so you're pulling really, really tight. All right, that's the first part. Now we're gonna go outside for the second part.
So how does surface tension relate to the weather? Well, surface tension is what gives raindrops their shape. So let's take a look using some help from Woody. So 2 weeks ago, actually, we learned about cohesion, that all water molecules are attracted to other water molecules because they are alike. So let's see what happens when the rain starts to fall or the water droplet starts to fall. Okay, we're waiting. It's raining. Hi, water. Hi, water. All right, so in this example, all the water is clinging together. Woody is really safe on the inside, but everybody on the outside is holding on. They're clinging tightly, and they're making that tense face. Surface tension. They're the outermost layer, and they're holding tightly. Now, all is good until something breaks the surface tension, like a flying Buzz Lightyear. Could you lay on the ground? So why does the shape of raindrops really matter? Well, without surface tension, then the rain would come down in a giant sheet. And a giant sheet of rain would not be a good thing for all the little critters and the plants that are on the ground. I'm going to show you 2 simple science experiments you can do right at home to do surface tension, and then I'm going to show you a simple way to make a rain gauge. For this experiment, you are going to need some food coloring. I'm going to use blue because that's what is shown on maps for water, and then some water, and wax paper or aluminum foil. I'm going to use wax paper for this particular experiment so you can see how it shows up on the white paper. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is take the blue food coloring, and I'm just going to change the water blue. And this is really just so that it shows up on the wax paper a little bit better. All right, so we're good. So what we're trying to show is what happens with surface tension. When all of those molecules start to stick together, the water wants to get as close as possible. And when that happens, it creates a dome effect. So Delaney's gonna help by zooming into this experiment in a minute. So I need to make a couple drops of water on my wax paper. I don't have a water droplet today, so I'm going to just take my straw, insert it into the blue food coloring, and then put my finger on the top. And if you look carefully, now I have water inside my straw, and I'm just going to drop it onto my wax paper. And if you look closely, you will see 3 water droplets that look like they have a dome shape. Now I'm gonna add one more, or maybe a couple more. Okay? Did you notice what happened? That they started to all go together? And now I have one giant cohesive water droplet. Okay, so this is the first part of the experiment. Now I'm going to have 2 of my kids race to see who can get all of their water droplets together the fastest. I think I'm gonna choose Guinness and Kratom for this experiment. All right, give us a second. What we're gonna do is really a fun way to have some friendly competition with some people in your household. All we did was take a piece of wax paper and we taped it onto our kitchen counter. We put white paper underneath just so you could see what's going on. Each person
has 5 big drops of water. These are to simulate raindrops, and especially notice the surface tension of each. The goal of this is to pretend like it's raining and we're all coming together into one cohesive giant rain puddle. Okay, the first person to get all of their raindrops together will be the winner. I don't know who it's gonna be, but I'm going to vote for me. The way that you do that is by blowing the raindrops with the straw. Okay,
Set, go. I think Mrs. Brown might be winning.
I think you might be right. Okay, so I'm gonna be killing them everywhere. This is touching my paper. Oh, sugar. Can we just call time?
We have a winner almost. It's gonna be your Guinness, I think.
I won.
Oh, we
here's
have a
a
winner.
more difficult twist to that same competition. This time you put different color water droplets onto your wax paper, and your goal is to see if you can get the 2 yellow ones, or you could say the 2 green ones, to connect without touching any of the other ones. Okay, so once again, yellow to yellow without touching any of the other ones, and cohesion's going to play a difficult role. Okay, Graydon won the last round.
I
Let's
didn't
see.
win the last
I'm not
round.
doing this one. I'm monitoring.
Because you came last.
Okay,
Get set, go.
I don't know how to get around it. Oh, shit. Oh, God, I'm done for fast. Touching my paper.
All right, so let's review what we just saw in that little fun experiment. We saw surface tension, which is water molecules clinging so tightly together that they create a tough outer layer. And that's why we had that dome shape for the different water droplets. It's what gives raindrops their shape, and it's what allows things to float, which is really important. At the end of our video, there will be a link so that you can see what happens when surface tension is broken and try out some of those experiments. All right, so now we're on to making a rain gauge, because what do you do with raindrops if you can't collect them? The materials you need to make a rain gauge are a water bottle. I'm using a 1 liter bottle. Some rocks to put in the bottom to make it steady and sturdy, some oil, scissors or a sharp knife, and a parent's help to cut the top, some kind of tape, a ruler. I printed this one off the internet, and then some Sharpies to mark your numbers. All right, the first thing you are going to do is cut the top off of your water bottle. I'm going to do that with your rocks and place them into the bottom. And I'm going to fill this about 1/4 of the way. It doesn't matter what kind of rocks you're using. Okay, once you have the rocks in, you'll notice that the rocks aren't smooth and they're not flat. So I'm going to put some oil into my container until it reaches the top of my rocks. That way, when I collect my water, it won't mix, and I'll have a true starting point in my rain gauge. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is take your top and invert it. This is making a funnel, so the water will go directly down into the funnel and collect there. But what the funnel does is it stops the water from evaporating out of the bottle, and that's a really important feature. All right, next you're gonna take your ruler and you're gonna make measurements on the outside of your rain gauge. I'm gonna tape this down first so that I can mark mine. Oh, and I wanna make sure that I'm starting where the rocks end. You don't have to video. Okay, before you move on, make sure you put your markings next to each centimeter so you'll know how much water is collected. Okay, and then put your rain gauge somewhere outside. So we're gonna walk outside right now and find a really good spot. Here we go.
Yep.
All right, so you wanna pick a place outside that's free from like trees and debris and rain gutters from your house. It's a little windy out here right now, but I think I'm gonna choose this little spot right here. And then after I'm done collecting my rain, I'm gonna use it to water my flowers, which died in the snowstorm we had on Friday. All right, so here it is, my very own rain gauge. And next week I'll let you know what happens with it and if any rain was collected. All right, bye. Make sure you check out the other extension videos for other experiments. So how does surface tension relate to weather? Well, surface tension is what... Stop!
Go.
So how does
Joe's growling at you. Tell Mom to get it done, Joe.
All right, next you're going to take your ruler and you're going to make measurements. You're gonna make, so here it is, a rain gauge or gauge. You're gonna have to cut it out.